a new video, and today's topic is desk rejection. Um, Rejection is part of the publication game, and you have to build tolerance to the level of rejection or type of rejection you get. So, this is hopefully going to be useful for uh, students who are doing their PhDs and just started to think about academic publication or early career researchers who are just in the process of getting their work published. So hopefully some of those views that I have on this rejection, some things that I have faced from my personal life that I'm trying to share here, and I hope that it will help you. So I'm just going to focus on three simple issues or areas that we can focus and perhaps avoid this rejection in the future. So let's begin. So, uh, what is a desk rejection and how is it different from a regular rejection? Desk rejection is something that happens when you submit a paper to a journal and you are expecting that the paper will go through the review process, and probably the reviewer, we all expect that will give us some comments and might accept the paper with major or minor correction. But sometimes it can happen that your paper will not go to review stage, and the editor who is handling the paper will reject the paper based on his or her immediate initial evaluation. And that is called desk rejection. There are several ways, several reasons that uh, can cause such a decision from the handling editor of that paper. Uh, I'm not going to go through all of the various things that might affect or cause a desk rejection. However, I will just focus on three areas that I faced or I feel that might be the causes for desk rejection for my papers. So let's have a look. So I categorized these things into three different categories. One is most frequent, another one is less frequent, and then the one that falls in between most frequent and less frequent is like it can happen. It can happen to anyone. So now let's start with the most frequent one. The one that has caused some I would not say a lot, but some of the papers that I have submitted and that come back as this rejected are because the journal that I have chosen is or was not appropriate for that paper. And we have to be very careful because this is a very important part of the publication process because we need to spend some time to really carefully find out whether the journal that we have chosen for the paper that we just finished writing for like, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years, whether that journal is appropriate for my paper right now. Why I'm saying that? Because when you started writing the paper, maybe you had this journal in mind, but do understand that journals, just like any other business, they have to remain current and they need to ensure that they provide content which is contemporary, which is in demand. So sometimes because of that, journal focuses on issues that are more recent, more current. So if your paper is written on an issue that uh, the journal that you have chosen is not really interested to publish, that we might come back as a desk rejection because the editor might feel that this paper is not within the scope of the journal at this point. So now this might create confusion because sometimes you might see that someone has already published a paper on this issue that you are working on, but that is not a very big good rationale, because I also fall within, I have faced this issue because the paper that I was referencing was published like 5 years back, and I was thinking, okay, if that was published here, this might be a good place that I'll try to publish, but it's not a very good way to choose a journal for submission. So always remember that it is not your paper that is the problem. It is the problem when you are choosing a journal, the selection was incorrect. So try to look at the scope, try to look at the current papers, the recent publications, where the publications are coming from, what areas they are publishing. This is more important, so that you have a perfect match. Again, if you look at some of my videos earlier, I have mentioned how you can use Journal Finder, but don't always rely on that, because even though you can find a perfect match, but it might end up getting this rejected, because it is at the end of the day the editor's decision. So editor might find that your journal is not falling within the broader scope of that journal. The less frequent one that can happen, it's sometimes I need to just mention here that the plagiarism score, always check, because I have found that one or two times I was very confident and I just went through with the submission, did not check the score. But then it has happened that the Turnitin score was around 24, 25%, which is not that bad, but again, it can be termed as high. So look at the Turnitin score if you are using any of the plagiarism software, just try and use it and look at the score and make sure your uh, plagiarism score is as less as possible. But sometimes it happens, Turnitin score might be high because there are certain words and terminologies we are using which is more frequent, and that is one of the reason I found that the paper got high Turnitin score, because some of those words that I used were constantly picked up as plagiarized. But again, if I remove those words, my paper will not make any sense. But anyhow, so look at the plagiarism score if you can. It's very important. And another thing is, if you can, make sure your paper English language is edited quite well enough so that it reads well. What I try to mean that if English is not your first language, it's always good to proofread the paper by some of your colleagues who are native in English, or any proofreader that you trust who can have a quick look and give you some suggestions. And the one that sometimes can happen, and because this is quite broad and it can be based on the editor's decision, the editor might find that your paper does not make enough contribution, and it can be because of many reasons. One, because your paper does not provide the problem statement quite good enough, or maybe you are not providing or outlining the contribution, or there are severe issues with the methodology in the paper that could create a lot of issues and a huge adjustment which the editor might think is not going to be fruitful to send this to the reviewer. So remember, this rejection means that the editor does not think that the paper is worthy enough to be sent to the reviewer, to ask the reviewer to spend their valuable time to review. And if the end result is that the reviewers are going to be rejecting the paper, so the editor intervenes and rejects the paper. And what I should say that sometimes I feel that it is a blessing in disguise, because if you submit a paper to a journal and the editor replies within 7 days that sorry, we cannot proceed with this paper, you it does not feel good, or it does not meet the scope of the journal, and you try to find a different alternative revenue, that's quite okay. We can always try. If there are some comments, we can try to update. That's what I'm trying to say at the end. So once you get this rejected, it's not the end of the world. There are two things you can do. You can take two paths. One path is if you have received any feedback, we can work on it. We can update the paper, improve the paper, work on the flaws that were identified. If the editor has some time and provide some feedback, we are always grateful with those comments that we sometimes receive from the editors and reviewers. We can work on our paper, update it, and then search for another suitable journal and proceed with the submission. Or if there is no feedback and you also think that you don't want to work on the paper anymore, you just want to go for another submission, then you can just take the second route, second path, search for another journal, submit, and hope for the best. So I hope that this video motivates you to keep on trying until you succeed. That's what my motto. So hope everybody enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. Bye.